Hey guys, Bart from TST Industries here. Welcome to TST Garage. In the shop with me today is a Suzuki GSX-S750, and we will be showing you how to install a couple of the different versions of the TST Industries Elite-1 components. Here I have the Elite-1 closeout, and then subsequently we'll demonstrate how to install the different configurations of the Elite-1 Fender Eliminator with this closeout. When you remove your fender, there is a void that's left by the removal of that component, and we produce this closeout along with the hardware that mounts it in that place that will close that void. Now, if you're just track rider or you have some different means of carrying your license plate, this set will be all you really want to install, so we'll show that separately. The actual closeout also serves as a base for the different configurations of the Fender Eliminator setups that we have. Here you see the standard. It is a stainless steel, bent, powder-coated black component. It carries your license plate. It does the job well. Here is our flagship. It's the Elite-1 adjustable. It's fully constructed of CNC machined aluminum. It is black anodized. It matches the finish of the closeout, and it gives you an extra degree of adjustability for the hanging angle of your license plate. Regardless of which you choose, you get this component as a base. You get all the hardware that will enable you to mount it on the bike, and this video will serve as the installation instructions for all the 3 different kits that we offer that are based on the closeout. Now, before we jump in, I'm going to talk quickly about the mode of installation. For the most part, we have very simple tools that we'll be using. There is one area where we will have to perform a cut, a modification to a $20 part that's under here. It's the sub tray. It does have a tab that sticks down. I'll show you guys what it looks like and why we need to cut it off. In the event of you wanting to revert this machine back to stock, you can just do that. It'll just be a little bit less intuitive when you're mounting the OEM fender back on. That tab is just meant to keep that part in place for you as you perform the fastening. So no really big deal. I have blue Loctite medium strength thread locking compound with me. This is our friend. It will make sure that our parts do not vibrate off during use. I highly recommend that you score some of this stuff before performing any of these installations. That's it on the installation notes. A little quick, several notes about the different components that we use with the Fender Eliminators. Obviously, when you remove your fender, you lose your signal lamps, you lose your license plate light. We have to do something about that. Now, this video will go over all these components, how to mount them, all the different nuances of these installations. We will have a separate video showing you how to install the signals and the license plate light. Now, if you're watching this before ordering, I want to prep you guys with some intelligence on how to order on our website. We provide all of our kits a la carte, means every component is separate and you build your own customized kit. So just know, Fender Eliminator is one module. If you want a license plate light, you have to drop that in your cart to receive that. If you are remounting your OEM signals, we have a remount kit for the OEM signals that works with all of these components and will accept the OEM signals and then route your wires through, no big deal. If you are going for aftermarket signals, such as some of these samples here of what we produce, then you will need a separate mounting kit and then also a plug-and-play connector. These things are bundled on our website. If you choose one of our signals, you just grab yourself the pod signal kit. That includes the connector specific to your bike and the mounting kit specific to your bike, and no worries there. We did all that research for you guys. And in that subsequent video, I'm gonna show you how to install it. All right, enough talking. I'm getting ready here. Let's get going with the removal of the fender, and let's start wrenching. Let's go. In step 1, we'll remove our license plate and retain the hardware that is holding our license plate currently. Most bikes come with license plate hardware, so you'll have some here in this area. You can retain that, or if you don't, you can pick up a set of these reflective guys from our website, or if you want a more customized look, we do have these anodized washer type hardware sets that exist in several different colors. I'm going to pick blue for this. Once we get to the reinstallation of everything, I'm going to use these blue ones because they match our color scheme. Next, we'll need to remove the passenger seat. In this next step, we will be removing this panel here and the matching panel on the other side of the bike. To do that, we will use a 5mm Allen. Remove this one fastener. And then we will need to clear a series of friction fasteners from behind this panel. So I'm going to get my hands under here. And this one popped out already. Several of them. As they pop out, you have to be careful. There is a sliding interference tab that goes in here. You can see here, if we were to just yank up on this, we may break this little guy. So just be careful. As you pull away, it slides forward and it clears itself. Here are our interference fasteners that go into these grommets. Those are the ones that popped out as I put my hand in underneath. I'm going to do the same thing on the left side of this bike. Now we'll need to access the screw that is holding the front seat. It is a silver in color screw here over a white tab protruding from the actual seat. I'm going to crack that loose. I already did the left side when I was on that side. So after this fastener comes out, we pull up on the front of the seat and we clear these tabs out of their interference windows here on the frame. Put that to the side. And at this point, we will have all access here to the fasteners for this piece. We have one push fastener here and one up here at the mating section between the tail and the side. I'm going to push the centers in. As these come out, I like to put them back into reset configuration here with the little button popping out. That way you could grab them like this later, push them in, press them, and that locks them. Now we need to extract one additional push fastener from within the trunk area. It's at the interface of the center tail and the side tail. When we peel away the wiring towards the center, we'll expose it here, push in the center, and comes out. I'll reset it. All right, this panel has one friction fastener that interfaces with a grommet right about here. So we'll pull straight out, perpendicular to the center plane of the bike. As that clears out, we will need to get this tab that's in here that we just unlocked to get that out. So we push up on that, and then these guys will pop out here. And then we also have two sliding locks here and here between these two components, between the center tail and the side of the tail. And those need to be unlocked in this direction. So towards me as I'm standing here. All right, here are the sliding locking clips. They have to come out in this direction to safely be removed. Put this guy to the side. And now we've gained access to all of the wiring here. We are looking for a white connector, a black connector, and a gray connector. They're all the same type of connector. You lift up on this tab and you withdraw the male portion. They unlock very easily. The black and the gray are your signal connectors, and the white is for the license plate light. There is a cable management guide here. Instead of unlocking it, I'm just going to snake these wires through. If yours is too tight, you can go ahead and unlock it Once these wires are out of this wiring guide, you can snake them back to the trunk. And now I'm gonna grab a 10mm socket and remove 4 10mm head screws from the fender assembly into the frame, and then that will be released. While removing the last one, I'm going to be supporting my fender so it doesn't just drop off. And then I'm going to guide my wires in as I take out the fender. There is a clipping feature here. We just need to pop this window off of this clip here. That's the clip that we will be removing for our installation. As you can see, it's not really necessary for this to remain on with the screws being installed. This is just a temporary mounting feature so that this stays on for you while you fasten it. So the removal of this clip is just immaterial for the reinstallation of OEM parts. So for our kit, we chose not to make a giant cutout here just to let this sneak through. We want a nice closed out finished look on the undertail here. So what we're gonna do is trim this off. I'm gonna mark it first. The idea here is to make sure that the cut member is at or below, towards here, at or below the surface of these bosses. And we will be spacing this off a little bit. We'll be spacing our undertail closeout off a little bit. So it doesn't have to be too precise. We just want to make sure that the bulk of it is off and it doesn't interfere with our closeout. Get my safety glasses on. I can potentially go in with a cutoff disc on a Dremel, and this would be the simplest way to approach this. But I know some of you guys at home do not have a Dremel with a cutoff tool. So I'm gonna do this slightly more cumbersome, but kind of a home remedy, home hack kind of a way. You can grab a sharp knife and start getting in there along this line, and you basically score along this surface, and this surface. When you get a deep enough score in here, you can grab this with pliers and you bend down on it and it'll crack off. I'm gonna help myself by using heat on this blade. We are trying to cut into polypropylene. It is a decently soft plastic, and it also has a pretty low melting point. So heating up a blade will enable us to just get in there with power. And when I get towards the end of my cut here, I don't want to apply too much force in this direction, because once we cut through this, I'll probably jump and I'll end up nicking some part here. So help myself by moving this around like so. If necessary, I can reheat my knife. I'm just going to refine this just a little bit. All right, that looks pretty good to me. All right, at this point, I'm going to demonstrate how to install the closeout only in here. The closeout comes with the actual closeout component, 2 spacers, 2 of the mounting screws that go through the closeout, through the spacers into here, and then also this countersunk screw that is meant to blind out the wiring hole. If you are using this setup as a Fender Eliminator and you are running wiring into the machine, then you will make use of this hole. If you are not doing any wiring, you close it out like this. You have a nylock locking nut from the back side. Make sure that the nylock element sticks away from this surface. 4mm Allen, 10mm wrench. All right. Now, in preparation for the fastening to the bike, I'm going to use my thread lock on the actual threads of the fasteners. Now this next step will be a little bit cumbersome, but decently easy to get through it. Put our screws through and then have to hold the whole setup with one hand while we stack these spacers on. Once this is stacked, bring it in to the undertail here and start getting that engaged. We use slightly longer screws here so that it's easy to handle them by hand. Get the thread started. I'm going to use that 4mm Allen to turn these all the way in. On this particular bike, the way the undertail was made, there's some interference here, so we will have a little bit of a sloped installation, or the resulting installation will look a little sloped, where here you have a step and here you're very smooth with the undertail. I think that's pretty okay. It's congruent with the lines of the bike, so we're good to go. Once you tighten this down, you would reassemble everything in the reverse order of disassembly, and that would be it. For our purposes here, we are also demonstrating the installation with a license plate bracket. First, I'm going to go over the standard. So the standard kit, like I mentioned in the intro, is this entire kit plus the bracket plus the hardware that is necessary for that installation here. So what I can do is remove this and show you guys the installation with these parts in addition to the closeout. If you are not running any wiring, then you would leave this closed out, or you would close it out during the pre-build phase. If you are running wiring, you leave this open and you're gonna run your wires through there. I already have thread lock on these, so I'm not gonna reapply. But if you are just doing this installation, I suggest that you apply the thread lock. So bracket, washer goes on the outside, closeout goes on the inside, screw goes through, and spacer. Now we have to do that 2 times. This is where it gets a little bit cumbersome, but no big deal. I'm gonna get my tool around one of these fasteners and I'm gonna remain in holding position on the other. Get my thread started on one, get my thread started on the other, get close to bottom out, but let's leave just a little bit of adjustability here. I'm going to have to make sure that everything is aligned. We have adjustability side to side on this bracket, so I'm gonna get it in the center and then start tightening down on it. That looks good, so I'm gonna lock it down all the way. Now, at this point, we would proceed to the reverse order of disassembly here. If you are doing a license plate light and signals on here, then you would get the information from our other lighting video for the Fender lighting elements, and then get that together in this assembly, and then proceed to the reverse order of disassembly. I'm going to take this down one more time and show you guys how to build the actual Elite-1 adjustable setup that I showed you in the intro. So this comes to you in a set of components that has to be built to this configuration. I'm going to show you how to mount it on the bike with all the rest of the components. All right, so what I've done here is I laid out the kit components of the actual adjustable Fender Eliminator assembly. This gets coupled with our closeout kit for our entire Elite-1 Fender Eliminator system here. On this setup, as I've shown in previous builds, we have the 2 spacers and then also these 2 screws that fasten this to the bike. We're gonna put these screws away. We're gonna keep the spacers, and then we're gonna make use of different fasteners for this particular installation. We're still using the spacers in the same location. If you are running wires with this Fender Eliminator assembly, do not block out this hole, forgo that step Here I've made one pre-configured fastener pair. I'm gonna do the same with the other. It's a 40mm long screw that gets a nut on it. This is a kep nut, locking nut. The kep star looking element faces away from the head. I'll forward this pretty much all the way down. And then I'm going to get these threaded in through these bosses, but from the top. So these are the rearmost holes in the frame here. We are going to use a 4mm Allen to get those through. Now the frame is enameled or powder coated in a way that these threads do have a little bit of that caked in there, so they may be a little tough for you. I've actually got my screws through here several times already during the R&D stage, so mine are going pretty easy. Just be patient with them. If they start binding, back it up. Maybe spray some air through there and then try again. I'm gonna get these to stick out quite a bit. Now we're gonna grab our spacers and get them on here and hold them. And get the closeout, line it up with these protruding screws, and then we'll get these hinge bosses. You have one threaded feature here, one threaded feature in the flat section. This threaded feature gets put on these threads. We don't want to make contact with the closeout just yet. Let's get these down pretty far, but not all the way. I'll grab my 4mm Allen, get these screws down as far as I can get them, just to see how much reach I have. These are actually prepped to be long enough in case you're using this setup with our stock signal relocation kit, because that will offset the distance of this from the closeout a little bit. We gave you plenty of length. Now I'm at full length here and full length here. So what I'm gonna do is back up my screw a little bit. And I'm just gonna try to gently get my surfaces mated without making scratches. All right. Now we have everything tight here. I forgot to mention one thing before this assembly. Make sure that you have your Loctite or thread locking compound on these threads. You do want them to be locked. I'm going to turn this in until it spins freely. I'm going to turn it back. The idea here is to make contact surface on surface between the boss and our closeout. All right, so I have it bottomed out here and I have it tightened down. I did not cause any scratches here. We're good to go. What I need to do is jump up top and hold the head of this screw with my 4mm Allen, and then use a 10mm to lock down on the nut. All we're looking to do is tighten it down a little bit against the frame, engage those locks. That's looking good there. All right, before we move any further, I want to draw your attention to two things. First, you have to have these bosses parallel to each other, which means that then the threaded features are on the same axis. This is essential for the action of your hinge system here. So make sure that happened. You can tweak these even at this point. You can tweak them slightly using a 10mm open-ended wrench here if you need to. That will produce some scratching, so I would advise to make sure that they're adjusted properly beforehand. Now the other thing I want to draw your attention to is the configuration. These have to be in the same configuration, meaning if you notice this surface is flatter, has some curvature, but it's flatter. and then this one has a divot. I typically put the divots towards the rear. It has a swooping feature. It gets my adjustment axis a little bit further aft. That's what I like. If you like them the other way, just make sure that both of these bosses are configured in the same manner. All right, now we have these L brackets. They can be configured several different ways. I typically don't advise people to do this. Your license plate will end up hanging in the wrong angle and you will have interference with the tires. So we'll make sure that we have sloping towards the rear on the bottom, and now we can actually align the larger hole here, not the slot, the hole, with the protruding boss that fits on top and creates the hinge. Fastening pair for this spot here is the smaller M6 screw with a washer. I've already applied some Loctite on here. You should do the same. I'm going to start this thread, and this takes a 4mm Allen. Before you tighten it all the way down, make sure that you have engaged the hole on the boss, on the protrusion. This way you have smooth action here, and when you lock it down, it stops it from moving. What I like to do is just keep it just a tiny little bit loose. Gives me adjustability. I'm going to repeat the steps on the other side. All right, now we have these slots and we have a choice of holes. Obviously we can move side to side a little bit, but we will have to decide which hole set to use. We are going to go for the middle holes. The remaining fasteners from the kit are these flathead countersunk ones. They get a nylock flange nut. Pair these up, engage the thread. Same procedure on the other side. This fastener pair uses an 8mm open or box wrench and a 3mm Allen. I once again leave a little bit of adjustability. I'll raise this here and lock it in place for a moment. This will help me get this in the middle. Okay, I am center and level. I'm going to tighten this down all the way, and I'm going to tighten the left side all the way. They don't have to be super tight, just enough to prevent motion. We have locking nuts on the other side, so that will prevent our removal. All right, now we can consider the actual hanging angle. We have quite a bit of adjustability here, but notice if you do this, you're very likely to hit your tire, and this will get bent back. You'll destroy some components, possibly puncture your tire. You don't want to do that. So I recommend something like this as the angle. I'm going to lock it down here. So at this point, if I were to be only installing the Fender Eliminator components, I would move on to the reverse order of disassembly to complete my job. Now, you guys will probably want a license plate light and or some signals on your bike. So I urge you to watch our signal lamp and license plate light installation video that will flow in with the steps portrayed in this video. That video is available on our website or our YouTube channel, so please watch it. All right. Let's get on to the reverse order of disassembly now. All right, to getting all of the push fasteners in, I like to make sure that they are actually all engaged. If we have any unnatural gaps here, you'll need to squeeze these panels together, push all of the locations in, you should be good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall passenger seat here. Now I'm gonna get my license plate back on. Like I said, I'm using some of our TST Industries hardware here. You can reuse your OEM hardware that you had on your bike, or you could pick up a set from us. These are available in blue, black, gold. They are anodized aluminum. Several other colors I'm not thinking of right now. You can check out tstindustries.com for all the different offerings. All right, this hardware uses 8mm head nut and 3mm Allen on the head of the screw. All right. At this point, you can consider this done. If you'd like to do a final adjustment on the hanging angle, you just crack the hinge screws loose, and then you can make your final adjustment. Again, I want to note that it is up to you to make sure you don't hit the tire here. I gave you a lot of adjustability, but that can get you in trouble. So use good judgment and make sure that you don't have a problem. Let's lock this down. I like it where it is. Hopefully you guys will check out our other video about all the lighting components for the tail here. We also have a whole host of other parts for this bike and other bikes you may have in your stable. Thanks for watching. I hope to see a comment from you. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Hit like and subscribe, and check out some other products we have. See you later. Ride safe.